Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu-alaikum. Ji ayanu, pakhair agale, ni hao, chunushumme, washmale. Ohaya gonzaimas, guten Morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal? Hale shuma chatore, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, swabia, bhalli kere aya, hoj galden, anayo sayo, huya mora, chivato, chihal, yud, kalimera, and a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning, alongside my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Hajrasatti, and somebody who never got a chance to sleep at night, Shazia Khan. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your Tuesday with us. But first things first, hello Hajra, assalamu alaikum, how are you feeling today?
Walaikum assalam, jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for introducing me, Shazad. So you have a lot of international exposure, you have experienced a lot of hotels and hospitality industry abroad and inside the Pakistan, of course.
Yeah.
And you've been to a lot of mountains, so you might have experienced a lot of B&Bs. But did you know that in in the Wales, there is this hotel which has been opened in the longest and the deepest shaft mine there.
Really?
Yeah, and the mine is really, really huge, and it is not for the faint-hearted to go there because you have to go for a 2-hour hike, and then you have to navigate a zip line, which you can see in the individuals too, in order to reach that hotel. It is the long
abandoned. There are only 4 rooms in there, right?
Yeah. And it has been a long abandoned mine which has been transformed into an underground hotel, which is the world's deepest hotel. So Shazad, what do you say? I mean, are you a sort of an adventurous person who wants to experience the adrenaline rush by hiking and having the zip line and then reaching this one of the 4 hotels, which is in the, what would you call it, Snowdonia in the Wales. So are you ready for the adventure?
Well, I'm not ready at all. And you know, there are multiple reasons to it, and I would like to put it in front of our audiences out there. And that is, number one, obviously, you know, so for anybody who gets this paranoia that, you know, that they're confiscated or, you know, they're somewhere, you know, where there's no more air, you cannot go out, you know, and you certainly need another extra hand to kind of move out of that hotel. I'm certainly not going over there. And unfortunately, I think very recently, because of the fact with what happened to Ocean Gate, I think that's something which is going to stay in my mind now. And I would always want to be very careful about, you know, picking up things, you know, because just yesterday I was watching this movie and it's titled Old, you know, so what happened was that there were people who actually went on a vacation, and when they went on a vacation, this gentleman from a hotel comes and tells them that, you know, that we have a beautiful private island, so why don't you come over there and we pick and choose people, you know, so for all of those families we think are nice and good and whatnot.
This is very fishy, no?
We take them over there. So what happens is that as soon as they're on that beach, they start to grow older, you know, so imagine that, you know, 1 minute on that beach is somewhat approximately 2 years for them. So their kids, you know, when they went over there, they were 4 and 5, and now they are all, I think, probably 20 and 25, so it was scary for me. And I was like thinking to myself, sitting on the bed, I was like, no matter what happens, if any time I'm going to get a chance to kind of go somewhere and this manager is going to come in, I'm like, okay, I'm not going anywhere. So I think for people who are out there, it's best that, you know, that you kind of look at the ratings they have online. If not that, you know, please make sure that you call somebody, ask them, hey, you know what, you know, have you experienced this? And if they have, ask them, you know, how their experience was. Do not just jump onto that, especially when you have your family with you. I think that's something which everybody needs to be careful while you're traveling. You know, this is a must because your safety needs to be first. You know, you need to prioritize your safety and your family's safety and only then decide. But what about you? Do you think that you're going to hike for 2 hours, then take a zip line to stay in a room, that too which is, I don't know, 4,000 below sea level?
Yes, I think so, something like that. I would certainly want to be in Wales, but I mean, going underground is something that I will see. But I think you are right, absolutely. This is one point of view, which is a very rational point of view. And then there is another point of view, which is linked to our faith, which is that we have to die one day, right? And the day which Allah has written for us in the grave, we can't spend it outside on the earth, right? So, I mean, I'm not a very adventurous sort of a person. No, I do not experience a lot of adrenaline rush and such sort of things, but I would like to explore a lot of things, a lot of places, a lot of...
But with safety.
I mean, you cannot be
imagine that, you know, people have been going out in all, you know, in Cappadocia, I think it was where people used to go for these hot balloon expeditions and whatnot. And God forbid, things have gone wrong over there as well. So things can go wrong anywhere. Obviously, we're open to that. You know, we're vulnerable to that. Any human, you know, wherever we may probably be, we're vulnerable to anything which can happen to us. That's not what I'm trying to put over here. What I'm trying to say is that it is your responsibility in the first place to make sure that wherever we are headed to is a safe place to be at.
You cannot eliminate entirely the risk which is always present whenever we go out there. Yes,
जैसे कि वो कहावत कहा भी जाता है कि पहले अपना ऊंट बांधो फिर उसकी चोरी ना होने की दुआ भी करो. So make sure that you tie your camel first.
That's true. So since weather has turned really nice, it's also humid because monsoon is here. So moving on to our top stories, which is
and before you move on to the top stories, whenever the weather gets nice and there's a little bit of gusty winds and rain, ladies and gentlemen, the first thing you see is no electricity. And that's exactly what happened to me just last night. So imagine it's only my street where the transformer blew up. So from 3 a.m. in the morning till the time I left, there was no electricity.
Did you complain to the relevant people out there?
Obviously, if the transformer's out, they'll wait for the morning to kind of come up, the sun to kind of rise and then come and help anybody and everybody.
That's true,
and I've decided that I'm not going to go back home from my office today unless I'm going to get this good news. Hey, batti aa gayi.
Yeah, because our office is really amazing. It has some really fantastic chillers out there. So office is our, a safe haven. Okay, so moving on to our top stories, which is the monsoon season began in Pakistan as the spells of rain hit parts of the country, while the Met Office has put Islamabad, Rawalpindi and Peshawar at risk of urban flooding due to heavy rain. Light to heavy rain fell in various parts of Islamabad as it brought respite from hot and humid weather. But I don't know why do we always accompany this news that there is going to be urban flooding. Of course, we need to be more cautious about it, but I think just the news of rain is enough to make us smile in such a scorching heat where we are experiencing, I think, summers of 42 degrees and it feels like 50 degrees somewhere right? But obviously, we always romanticize the rain because we live in a part of the earth which is very warm and hot normally.
And we do not only, we not only kind of romanticize it, but I think that, that our stomach actually romanticizes with the rain quite a lot, with a lot of chutney and samosas and pakoras and good wali chai and whatnots and people going out and getting together. Oh, it was too hot already, let's go out in the rain. So I think it's a beautiful feeling, but people really need to be careful because what happens is that in monsoon, obviously there have been urban floodings, and people really need to be careful with their own houses as well. So you really need to make sure that all of those pipes which are out there, they're not clogged or blocked. So in case God forbid, if the water starts to come into your house, that's going to be a bigger problem. Then you have to move all the furniture and whatnot. And everybody, I think, away in Pakistan might have gone through that. Have you gone through that ever? I think I've gone through that.
I don't think so, but yes, there was a lot of rain which is poured in from the window. So I think our carpets have soaked in. So we have to displace a lot of things in order to make sure that they are
and
back
obviously
in the dry form.
You're a rich lady. You have recently built your own new house. So obviously the water shouldn't be coming in it as well. So moving on, ladies and gentlemen, there's another good news, and that is that the 8-year-old Ayan Shigri and 12-year-old Danish Satpara accomplished a record-breaking feat by successfully summiting the formidable Kosar Gang mountain in the picturesque region of Shiga. Undertaking their awe-inspiring journey, Ayan and Danish scaled the treacherous slopes of Kosar Gang and adorned the mountainside with vibrant banners representing the Pakistan Army and its esteemed leadership, paying heartfelt tribute to the services rendered by the armed forces. Wonderful. Their triumph on Kosar Gang mountain also etched their names in the annals of mountaineering history. Ayan and Danish, being the youngest mountaineers to reach such a challenging peak, have earned a well-deserved place in the world of record books. The accomplishment serves as an inspiration to aspiring adventurers worldwide, highlighting the limitless possibilities that await those who dare to dream big. I mean, I don't know. When I was 12, I certainly didn't know my way back to home. So Ayan, I think, and Danish, you guys have done a great job. Thank you so much for putting the youngsters of Pakistan on the map of mountaineering, and this feat will always be remembered by both of you and the tribute you've paid to Pakistan and Pakistan Army. Wonderful. A big round of applause for you too.
That's wonderful, and I think we come across a lot of people who inspires you a lot and who also always makes you feel very comfortable. And I think I would like to introduce someone in our studio now who has been a big source of inspiration for me. She has a huge hand in my grooming because she has been my mentor, she has been my teacher, and she was a very sweetest person I've came across. Not just that, I've also seen her through thick and thin and how she has preserved especially and her resilience is a source of inspiration for her, for me and for everybody who knows her. So we are very glad that we have been joined by one of our famous motivational speakers. She happens to be Miss Shazia Abbas. Assalamu alaikum and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Walaikum salam.
Ms.
How are you?
Shazia, thank you so much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you over here, and especially when, my wonderful, well-learned co-host has actually mentioned that she's learned quite a lot. So, I came to the to my office and to the studio having this in my mind that, okay, today I'm going to take something away because, alhamdulillah, she's a wonderful human being, number one.
Jazakallah khair.
She's an
Thank you so
avid
much.
reader. She's very knowledgeable. She's cooperated. So all of those things you want in a dream team to work.
Jazakallah khair.
Alhamdulillah, she's been blessed with all of that.
Jazakallah
So
khair.
how much have you contributed in all of that? And then we'll move on towards your journey.
About Hajra.
Yes.
Yeah, she joined PA Finishing School. I worked there as a teacher, as a faculty member, and she was excellent. She was already actually very, very groomed. और बहुत अच्छा हमारा साथ रहा. इनसे भी हम usually हम students से भी बहुत कुछ सीखते हैं.
So we will have to speak in English because we're the only English channel in the country. So if you don't mind, yes, thank you so much.
No problem.
Right. So I think we would like to move forward because Ms. Shazia has a very inspirational journey. Especially the matter of the fact is that in February 2021 she was diagnosed with the breast cancer, and that journey is not easy, especially for the people who are cancer survivor, because their personality undergoes a huge change.
True.
Their identity undergoes a huge change, not just physically but emotionally, psychologically, and it's a very hard time on the family as well, because
Exactly.
if one of the person of the family members suffers, the entire family suffers.
True.
And especially when the mother or when the wife suffers in terms of having some disease, I think the entire family suffers, because the mother is, I believe, the pillar of the house on which the entire house rests, right? So Ms. Shazia, since you were diagnosed with the cancer, so how was your journey? What sort of changes did you undergo, and how did you cope up with that entire
Because
very
you were
hard
already
time?
working at the finishing school.
Yeah, I was already working with PA Finishing School. One day, it was a very fine morning,
Right.
and I had a class.
Right.
In the evening, I felt a lump in my right breast,
Okay.
and I went to a diagnostic center,
Right.
and I found out that I had cancer.
Right.
So
How was
the
it,
journey started.
when you got to know it for the very first time that unfortunately you have
It
been
was
diagnosed
it was very shocking, not just for myself, for the whole family as well. Then the
What was
process.
the first thought that came to your mind? Because I'm pretty sure it must be very hard.
Yeah, the first thought was death,
Right.
because it was all uncertain. So death was standing in front of me, and I thought, okay, now the time has come, and I'm going
Right.
to the Almighty, and but Allah was there. Allah is always there to help, and the process of investigation then started, and my treatment
and
started.
this is the first thing which I would want to kind of ask you over here, because for the very first time, when anybody who happens to be a cancer survivor as of now, when you take them back in time, you're like, okay, when you were diagnosed for the worst time, what was your first thought? Obviously, the first thought is, because alhamdulillah, I happen to be a cancer survivor myself, and so I'm shukr alhamdulillah, to Allah, Allah
Shukr
Almighty,
alhamdulillah.
my parents, my family, friends, anybody and everybody who prayed for me. So my first reaction was that I went on to the laptop, wrote what was written in my report and was like, okay, is it curable or not? So imagine that the first answer which popped up was, unfortunately, it's not curable as of yet. And that's the time when you start to figure out, okay, how many days do I have to myself? So when I looked at it, on my laptop or on my Google, which I won't recommend anybody to do that, it's something which happened 16, 17 years back. So and I started reading, so the maximum number of life expectancy was given to me by Google was 45 days. And that's the time when you start to think about, okay, my journey over here on this planet was till here. So I think what I need to do is probably make sure that I seek for forgiveness from Allah Almighty, and you start to prepare yourself mentally.
Spiritually.
So
also.
yeah, exactly. Spiritually and mentally both, because over here in this world, whatever time you're left with, you have to tackle with that pressure.
Yes.
And then, obviously, ki aage kya hona hai? And it's always with human beings, the fear of unknown. So how was it for you? Did you mentally prepare yourself that, okay, Shazia, you really need to be strong now. You have children, you have a husband, you have a loving family, you have colleagues. And so how did you go through that? And the sole reason to ask about this is so that people out there who might be facing these challenges in their life can actually kind of take something away and relax a little bit.
I had actually two options. Number one, just to lock myself up in a room and not to meet people, and the other
Isolated.
option, yes, and other option, because I was already a working lady, So I opted the second option,
Right.
to go on with my life,
Right.
just to keep myself busy. It was really hard for me because the treatment was very tough.
Right.
Chemotherapy was the toughest part. I had 2 surgeries,
Okay.
major surgeries, then 8 cycles of chemotherapy, then 1 month of radiation. Radiation was tough.
Right.
Chemo was the toughest part. I went through all smoothly, alhamdulillah. I had problems, no
Right.
doubt. But I had the support of my family, I had the support of my colleagues, my workplace, and above all, the Almighty. So I opened Quran a Pak because
Yes.
I used to read Quran on and off,
Right.
but not with the understanding, proper. We just read it in Arabic.
Right.
So I opened the Quran a Pak, and then I go through. I still read it,
Right.
and it makes me stronger every day.
Exactly.
So
And
that is
thank
the-
you so much for mentioning this, because this is something which people need to, kind of learn from here
Understand.
onwards from you, and
Right.
that is that to go on with your life. Okay, so whatever is happening in your life, please make sure that you follow that procedure. You continue to be that great human, you continue to be that great personality in your household with your friends and colleagues, and you keep on praying and you get the right treatment. That's number one. So we've established that. Number two, now what happens is that when you undergo chemotherapy and radiation, obviously it's more of like, they bring your immunity down. So God forbid if
Yes.
it's flu, you get flu. It's
Yes.
for 30 days the flu is going to stay with you.
Yes.
So there are multiple other problems. There are body aches.
Yes.
Mentally you're not fit as well.
Yes.
Because you feel because even before chemotherapy you always think that okay, yaar, I feel fine. That's not going to be a problem. But as soon as chemotherapy starts, you start to feel, your hair start to shed. There are multiple other problems which come up as well, and there's continuous conversations going on with your doctors and everybody and family members, and you feel nausea. So there are those so many challenges physically that mentally you're disturbed. So how did you make sure that you're going to be on track? Let's talk about that.
As I told you, with the holy book,
Right.
support of my family, I had the best doctors. I was treated in the best hospital, cancer hospital in Lahore. And my family, not just my family was actually taking care of me, I was also taking care of them as well.
Right.
So we
How?
did not actually, because the whole family was involved, the whole family was depressed. So when I saw my children in depressing mood, so I actually used to suggest, let's go out, have some eating out, let's go to the picnic, and
Right. Right. To change the mood
a
out
long
there.
drive.
Yes.
So
your mother was
re-socialize.
always
Yes,
there, the
yes,
mother inside you.
yes. So it was actually about the a combined effort.
Right.
And especially my workplace, I would really like to thank the place where I work. I still work there, and they all supported me so well.
Yes.
So this is actually, it's a combined effort, not
Yes.
just one person. But the inspiration, the motivation, and especially the strength comes from Almighty.
True.
That's
And it's not. It's a game of it's a game of your
Faith
mind,
and trace.
Right.
your faith.
Yes.
So be positive. I tell everybody that be positive all the time in every aspect of life.
But where you
And
were
know what?
positive, I'm very sorry, I have to bring this in at this point of time, and that is that where, the kind of challenges you had were very different. So imagine that, your father wasn't around, and then, your mother was there. Imagine that your sister actually got diagnosed with the same disease just
Yeah.
4 months prior to you.
Yeah.
And then it was you, who was diagnosed with the same disease, so where you were, I think hardly, 0.1% of the population might be unfortunately given the challenge that, okay, now you have to look after, pray for your
Yes.
sister, your mother's out there on her own. Now it's you who's been diagnosed. So your mother might have gotten very shaky as well that, okay, what's happening, and, my life's just,
Yeah, my mother, she got very depressed. 4 months earlier, my sister, she was diagnosed cancer, and then I got this disease. So it was like a bomb.
Right, of course. It's a hard time for the parents.
Hard time for my
Yes.
mother, and she was with me throughout the treatment. Reading tasbih with me, and the
Yes.
So what would
mothers,
she
you know
say?
what,
What
mother,
would
the
she say when
du'aen
you would-
and tasbihs and prayers. She was
But what would she
constantly.
say, when you were with her that, okay, Shazia,
I was
hausla
really,
karna hai?
yeah. With her, I'm very comfortable.
Okay.
With mothers, you know, somebody's praying for you all the time, and so you feel very comfortable and elevated.
Right.
So,
What was that one thing, you know, which actually kind of made you hold that rope so strong that you never let it go? Because I still remember that, you know, my sister, so because I didn't open up to my family then, and I was like, okay, you know, if that's how it is, you know, let it be, you know, however it is and how Allah has destined my life to end. And so then what happened was that, you know, that I never told anybody in my family that, you know, that there were only 45 days expectancy left. So 3-4 days I was able to kind of control it within my own self, but then obviously I had to share it with somebody. So I shared it with my eldest sister. Her name is Sadia. Allah hum sabko khush rakhe, ameen summa ameen. And then what she said was, hey, you know what, you know, you're just worried, you know, it's the first stage of the cancer, you really do not have to worry about it and whatnot. And I kind of, you know, thought that everything she's saying is true. You know, and I held on to it and I was like, you know, there's nothing wrong with me. It's just the first stage. I'm going to get over it. You know, so mentally I was always preparing myself. So what was that one thing which your mother told you and you were like, okay, yaar, I think isse mere dil ko rahat mili hai.
Rahat mili, okay. Actually, the way we all are brought up is like death is your friend. Death is something not...
You cannot avoid. Nobody can avoid.
Yeah.
It's just a change of path.
And death is not a bad thing.
Right.
You know, everybody who is alive has to face death.
Yes.
So this is what life is.
Right.
When I visit hospitals, when I go to the hospitals, I see people, you know, I feel that I'm much better than them. And
Right.
when because I'm constant, like hospitals are my home now,
Right.
second home.
Right.
So whenever I visit hospital and when I come back home, you know, I always do sajda shukr because I'm much better than many.
Shukr.
Because people, they are blind with cancers, people, they can't walk, they are having chemotherapy. So I think I'm much better than them. And I pray for them as well. So this is life.
Right.
And, you know, we have to teach this to everybody. Do
Right.
not always count your blessings.
That's true.
We are blessed. Life is beautiful. Just move on. This is our job to, you know, protect a life, you know, to take care of.
I think we need to be precautious about it, but also then we need to live the moment. There's a lot of conversation about it. So there are a lot of feathers to her cap because she's not just a cancer survivor. She's also established her new homegrown business, which is about the candles. And since I'm very fond
I was
of
expecting a few today.
table setting, so I think we would want her to elaborate how was her journey establishing herself in this market, which is a very relatively new market because in Pakistan you can't get to buy a lot of good candles as the market is very broad especially. So Ms. Shazia, how long it has been since you established yourself as someone who makes the candles out there, and how is your business going on, home entrepreneurship?
And why did you do it in the first place?
Why candles? Why not soaps?
Basically, since my childhood, I am into arts and crafts.
Okay,
so
wonderful.
candle making, actually, this is something I was already doing, resin art, candle making, and many other things I've been teaching to my students. So one fine morning, you know, I started my own business of, you know, I'm an event planner as well. So I started my business as event planner, you know, just to keep myself, one aspect is to, you know, keep myself busy, because when I'm at work, I don't feel here pain, my this arm is paining and here and there paining and depressed.
It's a good escape.
So I keep myself busy. That is what I tell everybody, to keep yourself busy. I started my own business of, you know, event planner. So and
Weddings and everything?
Weddings and everything, yes. And
People are so,
you know, I'm a certified HSC certified. Plus, I already was teaching this into arts and crafts.
Right.
So everybody was suggesting, why don't you do your own business? You are into teaching since ages.
Yes.
So one fine morning, I said, okay, I'll do it.
Right.
And, you know, I launched my business, this candle making. It is, alhamdulillah, getting so good response from my friends and family. And, you know, I have launched on social media as well.
Work is just fabulous, you know, because I was going through the pictures last night.
I'm more into decorative candles. You know, different candles. Normal candles are easily available in the market, but these are actually.
Are these scented as well?
Custom.
Are these scented candles?
Scented, every kind of candle.
And how can people order these candles?
Through social media.
So please,
Facebook,
why don't you share
Instagram.
share your handles?
event Shazia Abbas, SA Events.
Yes.
Events by Shazia Abbas.
Yes.
That
Events
is my
by Shazia
Instagram.
Abbas, ladies and gentlemen, if
Ji.
you want these amazing candles over here in Pakistan to be delivered at your doorstep, please
And-
make
and
sure
they're
that you
very
kind of follow them
reasonable
on
too.
their Instagram page. But very quickly, one last question towards the end, and that is that this conversation today early in the morning has given me a lot of strength, a lot of positivity, a lot of inspiration. And one last thing which I would want you to kind of share with our viewers is that one thing which you remind yourself every single day that you need to be thankful of. What is that? Please say to our viewers. Look into the camera. Tell them.
To the viewers?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I want to say, I want to tell everybody, and I want to, convey this message that life is beautiful. Always be positive. Whatever problems come in your way, just remember God is there. Allah Pak Almighty is there to help you. Please stay strong and have faith in God.
Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, ma'am, for
That's
being with
wonderful.
us.
Thank
Lovely
you
to
so
be in
much for coming
conversation
here.
with you. And in addition to that, I'm going to top it up, and that's one thing which I remind myself every day. Whatever you manifest will come your way. So if
Yes.
you're going to manifest positivity,
Yes.
positivity will come your way. That's it. We're heading out towards a short break. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back with a lot of positivity, we need to talk about marketing too as
Yes,
well. These
yes.
days, ladies and gentlemen, it's all about marketing, social
That's
media
true,
marketing,
that's
television, radio.
Branding and whatnot.
And how to do that is something which we'll be talking about right after a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Good morning. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you very much for staying tuned. You're watching World This Morning on PTV World, and with me, I'm lucky that I've been joined by my wonderful colleague who happens to be Ms. Hajrasatti. I'm Shahzadkhan, and this information was for people who just tuned in. Earlier, we were in conversation with a cancer survivor who happens to have her own business now. She's an entrepreneur.
Mashallah.
She's a motivational speaker, alhamdulillah. And she made sure that she's going to take charge of her life, alhamdulillah, thanking Allah in the first place.
Alhamdulillah.
But now, Haja, where we were talking about candles and she spoke about, how anybody could get them from their social media handles.
Yes.
So social media these days is all about marketing.
That's true.
You go onto Instagram. Instagram is more about, for people like us that, what
Yes.
destinations we're
Yes.
going, what
Yes.
topics we're discussing on our shows. So everybody's kind of marketing themselves, they're
Yes.
marketing their skill and whatnot.
Yes.
And most of the times whenever, so because we do a lot of business,
That's
alhamdulillah,
true.
so we do come across, a lot of different people. And, so I've come across a lot of people who certainly didn't knew what they were supposed to do, and they
Yes.
kind of took a largest sum of money from us, and it never worked for us, in terms of marketing.
Oh, really?
So people kind of made you feel like that, okay, they know everything, but they didn't know anything.
That's true.
And then they ran away with our money, and that's something that we are going
Con
to
artist.
discuss today. What are the right channels to market your product, and what products needs to be marketed on what platforms. And ladies and gentlemen, to have this conversation, we're very lucky that we've been joined by somebody who in her early phase of career was a content writer. Then she went on to be an anchor person, and that too for an Iranian channel. And now, alhamdulillah, she happens to be a marketer. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've been joined by Miss Nitasha, Zaynab, Sufi. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you? Hale shuma chutore?
Walaikum assalam, mahoobi hasta.
Mahoob, thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful to have you over here. But since the time is very short, so rather than talking about where you started your career from, let's jump on to marketing.
Sure, sure.
So marketing, because I happen to be a marketer myself, my majors were in marketing, and I've always focused on marketing my own self, alhamdulillah. What and how do you think that people really need to take marketing these days? Because a lot of people still do not have entirely focused on marketing and how to kind of reach out to other people.
Yes.
For me, marketing is reaching out to more people. What is it for you?
Basically, we ourselves, we are marketing each other. Just simply, when we talk to each other, when we introduce ourselves
When you
to
tag us on
anyone,
your Instagram post, it's
basically,
like
yeah, that's marketing. But basically, marketing has been, taken a setback.
Okay.
When there comes, Instagram gives you, and different social media platforms gives you this variant called boosting.
okay.
So you're having fake marketing, and you're just having this. You don't have the concept between. There is this thin line between fake and real.
Yeah.
Real and real.
Yeah.
So in order to get to the top, people are like buying
First,
stuff.
let's differentiate. Okay, so there's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's Skype, and there's
LinkedIn.
Snapchat, and there's so many things
Yes.
now. So where do you think people really need to market their products? On Facebook or Instagram or any other platform? So let's and what sort of products?
And also let's discuss, because time is really short, about the fallouts of the marketing or the negative sides of the marketing. So for example, if you are launching some product or marketing yourself, you might get a lot of trolling in the first place, right?
That's marketing too.
Yeah, but that's negative marketing, right? And that also hinders your capacity to market yourself as who you are or what you want to be in front of the people out there, right? So how do you think we can tackle the trolling in the first place? Because obviously negative comment, abusive comments, I mean ill wishes, they all hinder your personality in the first place.
And do you agree that no marketing is negative marketing?
There is no negative marketing.
Yes, thank you so
So
much.
basically, it's like you do marketing and then do marketing. So basically, I'm going to take both of the questions. You have amazing questions, first of all. So at first, there are like so many different platforms. We look on them as a geographical area.
Right.
Basically, if you are in Pakistan, you should go for Facebook marketing, because none of the major people, like if you sit with a person who is more than the age variant, that the person is above 40, they won't understand Instagram.
That's true.
Instagram is for Gen Z, and Gen Z is not going to buy your product. So if you want someone to invest in something, big amount, and your product, it varies. If the product is, less than 10K, 20K or something like that, you can target the Gen Z.
Yeah.
That's how you focus on stuff.
Wonderful.
You focus on target audience. Your first rule,
Defining target audience.
when you ask the question, it's about what are you trying to portray to people.
Right.
Because when you portray yourself, when you post a picture, you have no idea how
will be
people are going to take it.
Yes.
Like people are going to, you said, hi, hello everyone. People are going to say, why would she do that?
Right.
Why is she using the
All
same
sort of
words
reactions.
in
Every time,
every single time? So it's like the ball is in the court and you cannot play with it. And there is no such thing as negative marketing.
True.
I'm going to tell you an amazing thing about it.
Okay.
Like, so if you come across something which is, your business is doomed,
Right.
for example, your business is not at all working.
Right.
So what we hear this a lot, like, oh, this actor or this actress is no more alive on the channel. So they introduce something about themselves.
Right.
They leak something about themselves and they introduce something, a little gossip.
Yes.
So there you go.
But
You
I've
get the
seen-
marketing.
I've
That's
seen
not the
the
only
brands-
things which we've
Yes,
seen.
the
that people
negative
have been talking
marketing or
about, yes.
negative
Yeah.
fame which they get. But then again, I have seen a lot of businesses who cannot handle the fallout from the Twitter or from another social media account, and that has dented their sales a lot, right? So you're talking about the individual personalities, how the negative fame can also bring them fame, or they can become
But
the
look
talk of
at
the
Sean
town,
Tate,
right?
look at Elon Musk. Look at these
Yes.
people. How they've been negatively marketed as well, but
Yes.
then eventually
But
end
they're
up
the individuals
making profits,
now,
right?
right? Right.
So,
But
they're being marketed now.
But there are two sides to it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not always that the negative fame will bring
True,
you
true.
profits, right? It can also bring you a downfall in terms of the sale, right?
Sometimes like Elon Musk, they buy the marketing
Yeah, yeah.
stuff. They're like, that's marketing,
look.
that's my
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
I own this shit.
Because he was in conversation, I think, this feud was on Twitter where Elon Musk and Sean Tate were actually kind of comparing each other. And Sean Tate comes up that, I have $700 million and whatnot. And
Yes.
then, do you have a Bugatti? And then Elon Musk bought the Bugatti
But
company
you're
the
talking
next
about
day.
the millionaires,
Right,
right?
but
So
these
not
are all,
everyone
but
is
these are all
millionaire, right?
marketing gimmicks now. But these are all marketing gimmicks.
But
That's
they are
what we need to
already
understand.
millionaires, right?
That's true. But
That's-
that's true. Now, which is why, I'm going to bring you down. So for example, if we are not to talk about millionaires, let's talk about anybody out there who's marketing, may it be perfumes,
commoners, right?
may it be people talking about their products. So what we really need to kind of think about is that what sort of a product needs to be marketed.
Okay.
If we are talking about Gen Z, you said that, okay, if it's less than 20,000 rupees, obviously that's something which a kid could actually kind of gather, Idi, Shidi, Ammi, Abu and everybody, he's going to go around or she's going to go around. So what kind of product do you think really needs to be in line with Gen Z, number one, because, those are the people on social media platforms.
Yes.
And then number two, what sort of products should be out there for people? Because do you remember that game? Because I've learned a lot from that,
Which
name,
is it?
place and whatnot.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
name, place, and
I think these are the basic foundations of any marketing campaign. So, you talk about age, you talk about gender, you
Yes.
talk about geographical location, and then you think about what they might need. So how do you think, because a lot of people who are on Amazon, who are doing this drop shipping and whatnot, they think about product creation now. So what sort of products do you think will be in line with people who are marketing on Instagram and people, you know, who are actually doing conventional marketing on television? So how does it work?
Okay, there is this thing I would always say that every product should be marketed.
Okay.
Like everything is for
Obviously,
everyone.
that's more business for you, right?
Yeah, it's yeah, obviously.
That's
So
marketing too, right?
you know, there is this thing that if you have a shop, a physical shop in some market,
Yeah.
you know, how many customers do you think that shop will have daily? 20, maximum 100.
Depends on the footfall, right?
Yeah, footfall. So, but on when you come to social media, I would really request every single person to come to social media
Yeah.
and, you know,
See
sell
it.
your product there. Whatever the product it is, it doesn't even matter if it's like nail paints, it's like clothes, it's shoes, it's
True.
bags, or even if it's the jars or the candles or
Yeah.
anything.
But since Instagram is more about fashion now, so you know people do look
No,
at
no,
a lot
no.
of clothing brands over there.
This is a
you know, lot of
misconception.
shoes and whatnot. Because imagine
Right.
that, you know, there are people like Alibaba out there, you know, who's selling anything and everything
Yeah.
on internet, and that's how they've gotten to a point where, you know, he once was the richest man on planet, right?
Right.
But now let's talk about that, how people actually fall into the hands of the wrong people. So imagine that there'll be a lot of messages which I would get on my Instagram, and people will be like, oh, you know, we can these many likes and whatnot, and you can pay this much amount and whatnot. So imagine that people are being fooled as well. So how do you think they know that anybody they're going to give their content to market? How do you think that they should kind of satisfy themselves that, okay, yeah, I'm not in wrong hands?
We all have to have this boundary for the content and for anything,
Okay.
anything in life. So this incident happened with me as well when I was in the early stages. People come up to me and, you know, they get the work done, but I was not paid.
Okay.
And that
And
goes
that was the time
other
you
way.
decided, I'm advance lungi well.
that can go otherwise other way around as well.
True.
When people are like, oh, I know Instagram, I know this, that, because a layman does not understand social media.
True.
So you have to have this little bit of knowledge, and then you should go for the people you think that they are, you know, being able to deliver something.
Or just probably, you know, I think I'm going to give you a hack. So what you need to do is that just go onto their Instagram profile,
Yeah.
click on the likes button if they have not hidden it, and then look for the names people who have liked it. You know,
And,
so
and
if it's-
also look at the comments. So if they are blocking the comment section, that means that they are blocking the negative comments there in the first place, right? So that is also an hack. But I think the people nowadays, they have a lot of social media literacy, so they can really identify that. And I think every one of us has also experienced this con artist thing on the, especially on the social media, that we have been, there have been a lot of fraudulent practices. So one last thing before we wrap up this segment, which is that people, especially on the Twitter, because it's an open platform, right? It's not a private platform, it's a public platform. So people interact in the Twitter on a way because they feel that it's like their personal diary, right? It's not their personal diary, it's a public platform, right? So how do you believe as a social media marketer, one should interact with the Twitter in the first place, or all of those medias in the first place, which are public in the first place, and that should be more responsibly handled in the first
and
place?
people react to it more.
True. But I would just say this, that we are owner of whatever we are giving to the people. When you're saying something, you actually, now the ball is in their court. Now you were responsible to your words when you had in your mouth.
Yeah.
Right.
Now it's public. Now it's public property. You are
Yes.
not going to react to the trolling.
Yes.
It's in, again, the trolling you're receiving, it's again in your hand,
Yes.
how you will react to it.
Right.
Will you spend your energy, your time, your every ounce of your body to that
Counter
negative stuff,
that,
or you will divert like to the 24 hours you spent other than happy
But
times?
it always totally depends on whether people are going to pick up on the way you're reacting, because that's
Exactly.
something which is another, once again, marketing gimmick as well, or a
Yes.
marketing tactic. So what happens is that people will take screenshots and then post it elsewhere as well. So you really need to be very witty around it.
Yes,
and
that's
people
true.
are really smart these days, ladies and gentlemen. So please make sure that you actually play in
Yes.
safe hands. If
Yes.
people want to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you? Any
They can-
Instagram handles, anything?
Yeah, they can contact me on LinkedIn. I have a LinkedIn of Nitasha Zaynab, my own name.
Yeah.
And then Instagram is natasha.zaynab. So it's like if ever anyone wants to have a little bit of consultancy and they don't have money, they can contact me. It's okay.
All right, so that's wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, all
Wonderful.
you need to do is just talk about PTV World's program well this morning, and she will be happy to look after you guys as well. But please make sure that if you have money, you pay her the money too as well. But thank you so much for
Thank
being
you
with
so
us.
much.
Lovely to be in conversation
Thank
with
you
such
so much.
budding,
Likewise.
amazing entrepreneurial skills wali khawateen. And it's always wonderful to see, Pakistan growing in the right direction. And thank you so much once again.
Thank
But
you
for
so
everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, we're not done yet because of the reason that, alhamdulillah, one of the strongest pillars over here at PT World happens to be one of our dear friends, Chaudhry Iftikhar, our dear colleague, because he's that one gentleman who keeps us all going. He's that source of energy, ladies and gentlemen. It's
Source
his
of
daughter's,
caffeine, yeah.
Yes, and it's his daughter's birthday today, so it's Usma Chaudhry's birthday. So we're going to wish her a happy birthday.
Happy
So
birthday
let's
to
sing
you.
her the birthday
So,
song.
happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
May
Happy
you have
birthday,
many
dear
more.
Usma Chaudhry.
Happy birthday
to you.
to
Happy Hajj Day, bache. Please make sure that you make your parents proud. Daddy loves you, mommy loves you, everybody loves you over here, the world loves you. Please make sure that you keep on growing. And the first day when you were born, your father and your mother and the entire family was really happy. Make sure that you maintain that happiness for the rest of their lives, and that you are being blessed with good nasib. Thank you so much. Usma, a very happy Hajj Day to you. And for everybody who's out there, if you are celebrating your birthday today, ladies and gentlemen, a very happy Hajj Day to each and every one of you. Until next time, look after yourselves. Have a great day. 1, 2, 3.
Good morning.